Cheating is a no-no, but I think that most of us have done it at one point in our lives. Or if you're like this kid I went to high school with, every homework for every class of every day. We shouldn't be doing it because honestly, you're only cheating yourself. I knew that to be true because people kept telling me that, but the true meaning only really hit me in my bones when I went to college. The risk was way too great, and the classes moved way too fast, so if you didn't build a good foundation of knowledge at the start, you'd definitely get screwed by the end. But high school was a different story. We had cheating rings, we had hierarchies, we had warlords ruling the courtyard with exam questions and quiz answers. It was pretty crazy the amount of cheating going on, not gonna lie. And I sometimes wondered if the school knew how elaborate our systems got. See, a lot of us had the same teachers, just different class periods. Like, friend A would have Professor Snape in the morning, and then 2 hours later, that would be my time to take potions class. And because of that, we had the same tests on the same days. I think the school tried to stagger them or mix up the questions, but then we had this whole argument about giving some people an extra day to study, or that a certain question that might be considered easy to one student will be considered difficult to another. So mainly to keep it fair and stop us from whining like little babies, they had to give us the same tests on the same day. The most they could do is switch up the order of the questions and print out different versions so no one could actually memorize the multiple choices and pass them out to the next class. Cheating is not something to be proud of, for sure. But for this particular story, I gotta say, I kinda felt like the bee's knees. In English class, we were reading the autobiography of Frederick Douglass, who was a slave, abolitionist, writer, person. I do feel kind of guilty that I never actually read his book, but at the time, my priorities were hanging out with friends, talking smack about Gossip Girl, and prepping for the SATs. And I know this is gonna sound really awful, but I just gotta be real. The book just did not appeal to me. I think right after we read of Mice and Men, and I was all for that. I was like, yeah, fiction! Made up people are always more interesting than real people! Yeah! Oh, 14-year-old me, how can you embarrass me like this? So I didn't read this book, but I had to take a test on it. That was gonna take some next level miracle. Then I heard the test was gonna be like 10 multiple choice and an essay question that was worth 75%. So even if I got every single multiple choice wrong, I could still score a C. And odds are, at least one or a few of my multiple choice answers would be right, so that would only boost it higher. I don't know about most people, but if you were pretty much determined to get an F, a C sounds pretty good. So my friend who had the class in the beginning of the day made sure to memorize the essay question for all of us later. It was, describe a moment in the book that had a major significance on Frederick Douglass's life, or something to that effect. It was a pretty open-ended question. It wasn't like, describe what type of chair he was sitting on in the 5th of November in 1891. The teacher let us choose any significant moment in the book to write about. So even though I hadn't read the entire book, I did read like the first 10 pages where he describes being separated from his mother and all the trauma that came with it. That was the only thing I read in the book. So that was all I had to work off of. I'm telling you, I had to pull out any and all writing tricks I had to make this look good. I described it in vivid detail. I broke down each detail into even smaller details. I wrote my super long, super big brain analysis of each one of them. I painted pictures. I framed up awards. It was grand. And one of the most meta things I remember writing in this essay was that I understood that it was a very small moment that took maybe even less than the first 10 pages out of a 100-page book. But that one small moment had a profoundly lasting impact on the entirety of his life. When I finally got my test back, guess what I got? 85, baby! Oh yeah! Best of all, full points on the essay question. 100% true story. I really shouldn't be proud of being able to BS my analysis on a really prolific writer / person of historical significance, but I can't help it. I was destined to get an F, and then I pulled out a B. But if you think about it, school should be teaching you how to think quickly and act on your feet. Improvise, adapt, overcome. I mean, it's a meme for a reason.